What's up guys, I'm Seth, and today I'm going to be showing you my 1988 KX500 two-stroke Supermoto. So I've always been a fan of two-strokes. I started out on a Yamaha DT250, and then I was able to get a 1986 KX125. And from then on, I just fell in love. I like two-strokes, I like the power band feel. So then eventually one day I was scrolling on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, I forget where it was honestly, a couple years ago, and I found this one right here, which is a 1985 KX500. So this is the year that they did not have any KIPS valve or a power valve. So I was able to pick this up for pretty cheap, honestly. I think I got it for $400. So when I picked this bike up, it was not running. It had a sheared rotor keyway, it had a broken kickstarter, and then also where the kickstarter goes into the engine, usually right here, that little boss that's on the side of the motor, it was broken off and cracked inside there, so I had to re-weld that. I was able to get the motor running, and then once I got it running, I rode this bike for a little bit, but not much because it's a dirt bike and I don't have a ton of trails around where I live, so I didn't know what to do with it for a time. And then it also has terrible suspension as well. It's just totally racked out and totally useless, so I might rebuild it one day. So a few months went by and I found another KX500 for sale, and this is a 1988 KX500 motor. This is the one that was in my Supermoto when I bought it, and this motor right now is going to need rebuilt. So I recently took it apart. I made sure the head is flat, so both the head surfaces are flat, so I'm going to put a new head gasket once I get it in. But I took it apart because my fourth gear went out inside the transmission, so I have first, second, third, and fifth. But I didn't want to ride it too long because I don't know if a teeth broke off or something like that inside there, and I don't want it rattling around in my transmission. So I'm going to split the cases, check that out. I'm probably going to put a new crank or rebalance the crank, because right now its vibration is crazy on it, and I know they vibrate a lot, but it's like excessive. I think the guy who I bought it from said that he rebuilt it himself with his own connecting rod, but I don't know. I have to take a look at it to see how balanced it is. But also my bore here, right here, you can't see it in the video, but right here there's a scratch where the piston ring scratched the cylinder wall on the intake side of the motor. So I'm going to have to send this out probably to, I don't know, Millennium Technologies or something, to get them replated over top of this steel sleeve. So I thought in the meantime, while I get that motor fixed that I just showed you, the 1988, I would take the 1985 motor out of the dirt bike and put it into my Supermoto. So in the meantime, I can have a riding bike. Does not have the KIPS valve like the 1988 motor does, so it doesn't have a power valve for the exhaust, but it still has quite a bit of power, that's for sure. So this is my 1988 KX500 two-stroke Supermoto. 1985 motor inside the 88 frame. And in 1987 is when Kawasaki changed the frame style. So it used to go this way here. So in 1985, which is this motor, and 86, they had a different style frame. But in 87, they switched to this forward-leaning style frame. And I ran into some issues, but I was able to fit it up to the 1988 frame pretty well. I had to adjust some of the engine mounts and whatnot, but it wasn't too bad. So I'll give you a little tour around the whole bike first, and then I'll start explaining some of it. And stuff that I added on, stuff that I built. So this is starting off with the seat here. I recovered the seat with a Moto seat gripper, just the rib seat, whatever. I got it on eBay. And I was able to put on some Pro Taper fat bars with some adapter, triple clamp adapters right here. This is my light bar. It runs on a total loss battery system. So this bike has a 2400 milliamp hour battery, I think it is, with an LED bar that'll last about 2.5 hours. So I was able to put this pressure switch here for my rear brake. So every time I pull my front brake lever, the pressure switch, when it runs through the brake line, is gonna the pressure from the brake line is going to turn on my rear brake light, which is mounted under here. So I mounted the rear brake light up under there, and it works pretty well, the wheels. So I was able to pick these up online. I found someone on Facebook that had a KX500. So they're KX500 hubs that are already laced to some Warp 9 wheels with tires and everything. So it came and didn't bolt up directly. I had to do some changing and whatnot because the guy I got this from put these different forks on the front. I'm not even sure what they're off of. I think they're from a KX250, not quite sure. But I was able to machine on the lathe some spacers here, my own spacers. So then I was able to, I know I have a small rotor on here. I don't know what it is, maybe a 170, or I forget what it is right now. But hopefully in the future I'm going to be able to put a 320 or some sort of bigger brake kit on there. On the rear, I had to do my own custom spacers as well. There's a washer in here as well as a custom machine spacer. And on this side, I had to machine a spacer as well. I'm not exactly sure what this tail section is off of, what bike. I think it might be a KX250 or a 250F. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments below. I think it looks decent, gives it a little more of a modern angle to it. Got new side plates for it, for the radiator guards, as well as side number plates. I put my own white sticker or whatever, I don't know. So this bike came with a full FMF expansion chamber. I don't know what brand the silencer is. I'm not sure. It just came with it, so I went with it. It fit up to the 85 motor. On the 86 motor and up, they have a KIPS valve, which is the power valve for the exhaust, which goes a little section here, which just runs off of the crankshaft, and it'll turn your exhaust valves up here. So the 85 is the only one without any power valves. 84 is air-cooled, so 85 is the first water-cooled engine. This is a pretty cool addition that I put to it. I know there's a lot of people that just say you can just, oh, just kick it. It's just a big bore engine. You should just be a man and kick it, whatever. But I installed this bleeder valve basically for the compression release from a chainsaw. I was able to put it through the bottom bolt of the coolant hose. So in the top of the head here, because normally there's water or coolant running around in the top of the head here, but I was able to just drill through, take out the screw. So this is the screw that goes up for the top of this water mount. Down here of the water hose coolant mount, down here I just threaded my own, I turned my own adapter on the lathe with the same threads as the bolt, but through the middle I drilled a hole through the middle. So now the water, and I drilled a 1/8 inch hole, I think, all the way through to the top of the head, through the top of the head to the cylinder. So pretty much right into the piston on the top, not into the piston, but all the way into the chamber in the inside. So I think I have some pictures I'll be able to show about this process, but for right now, it works really well. You just pop it, go to top dead center, and then it gives you compression release. So the first time the motor makes the rev over and explodes, it'll pop this out and get full compression again. But it saves your shoes, it saves your ankle, it saves everything. So I'm able to actually start this motor with my sneakers on. I was able to bolt up this Supermoto billet aluminum kickstand, and it bolts right up to the frame and subframe. So pretty easy to do. It's a little long right now still. I need to cut it here and then weld this foot a little bit shorter, just because of these wheels are 17-inch wheels, which is lower than the normal stock off-road. So this system for my carburetor right now is a bit janky. So on the 1987 and up is the different frame, and when they do that, they're able to, there's an intake boot that goes around the suspension, but in 1985 and 86 they didn't need that. So right now my carburetor is coming straight out the back of the motor and right into the suspension. So I'm not able to put the boot that goes from the air box down to my carburetor. So I made an adapter here and just put some screening on my intake right here. I know it's sketchy and getting rocks and things in there. I just wanted to make sure. For now, I just did this the other day, so thankfully it runs and rides right now, but I do need to figure out, I'm thinking about 3D printing something or getting something to be able to go from the back of the carburetor all the way and help that stock boot from the 1988 go back, so I don't have to worry about getting any junk and stuff inside my motor. Compression on these motors are insane. So as you can see, without my compression switch in, it's pretty difficult to push. I can let it leak it down past the cylinder or past the piston rings, but actually there's one ring in this motor, but it's really hard to push. But as you can see, press the compression release, which is on the side here, push that in once, You can hear it breathing on this side. This is my battery system. Right now it's just inside the air box because I don't have the boot on from the carburetor to the air box, but basically this is the battery. It's a 24,000 milliamp hour battery. So there's a little switch, on off switch. This is the charging port, and then the other port is into my custom wiring harness. Basically flip this switch on, and then I come up here. This is my toggle switch for all my brake lights. So come on here, turn that on, my brake light turns on, and then as I hit the switch for the rear brake light, not sure if you guys can see that, but it's coming on for that. Then up here I have a toggle switch that I wired in for my headlight. Flip that switch to the right and it's got my 6 LED bar for at night. It's a spotlight, so it's kind of annoying to oncoming traffic. So this light lasts about 2.5 hours on that battery that I have in there. I don't really need much more than that just because the fuel mile per gallon on this is horrible. I probably get between 16 to 18 miles a gallon on it, barely. So yeah, I can't ride 2.5 hours without having to fill up, and there's no reason you'll be shaken to death if you ride this thing for 2.5 hours straight. So anyways, there's my 500. Stay tuned for more videos on other bikes that I work on. Thanks, guys. Oh, you got a pop.